Welcome back to Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Friday, September 6th, 2019. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. One of the first rules that every middle school kid learns in algebra is that whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So if rookie star Keon Pearson has plans of crashing the top 5 in classic physique at the Olympia next weekend, basic math tells us that means someone else is about to be the odd man out. As of today, Keon is literally only a few days away from stepping on stage to compete in the biggest show of his career against a lineup full of guys who are future Hall of Famers. That being said, out of all the young guys who've managed to make it this year, I see Keon as being the one who has a chance to do something very special. The kid has everything you could possibly ask for, and assuming he can handle the pressure, I see him as someone who has the potential to come out of the weekend as one of the big-time winners. Yesterday we talked about the big news that came out of last weekend regarding Hotty Choopan's newly awarded visa status. But now that we know the Persian Wolf will be on the prowl next weekend somewhere on the streets of Sin City, the next question becomes, which division do we think he should compete in? He's the only guy in the show qualified to compete in both the 212 and the Open. Now in the 212, he comes in as one of the clear frontrunners with Derek Lunsford, Ahmed Ashkanani, and Eduardo Correa. But in the Open, now we're talking about going up against guys like Ruli Winkler, William Bonac, Dexter Jackson, and Brandon Curry. Personally, I think the 212 seems like it's a safer bet at this point. But for all we know, Hadi might not even be close to being able to make the weight. This guy is the ultimate X factor right now. So I guess all we can do is wait and see how this whole thing ultimately ends up playing out. I know there's the old saying about absence makes the heart grow fonder. But from my experience, forced absence doesn't make anything grow fonder. It makes it angry, bitter, and resentful. But then again, sometimes those three things can come together to be one hell of a motivator. A few days ago, we saw a few clips and pictures trickle out of a very focused-looking Shawn Rhoden, who still looks as he's getting after it the way you'd expect to be seeing from an Olympia champ this time of year. We don't need to get into the whole saga again to rehash what's going on, because it's the most talked about story in bodybuilding. But I will say this. If there's anything we've learned from the Hotty Shubin situation, it's that anything can happen in any given moment. And I think it would be a little premature for anyone to completely cross Shawn off as being done before we hear the final verdict. If you live anywhere near the Gulf Coast, then you know all too well what it's like to get sucked into another hurricane season this time of year. But apparently, not even a Category 4 like Hurricane Dorian is enough to slow down Alex Cabron. This week, Team Fellow did everything in its power to keep their Olympia prep on track, despite Mother Nature doing her best to make life difficult. There are so many guys vying for a top 6 spot next weekend in Classic Physique that it's almost hard to wrap your head around it all. But if Alex shows up full and ready, I see him as being someone who has a potential to be a major top 5 force. I'm a big believer in setting your intentions because once you do, I think the universe has a way of recognizing this and opening up doors for you, even when you least expect it. So when I look at the way Sandra Grajales has been sweating it out in the gym for the last few weeks, I can't help but think the universe must have something good waiting on the other side for her. I know Sydney Gillen and LaToya Watts and Nadia Wyatt are dominating the headlines right now. But when we look back at how awesome Sondra was all year long, it's hard to think that she should probably be getting more attention right now. That being said, if she shows up at her all-time best and just completely smashes one out of the park, a top 3 finish is entirely within the realm of possibility. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.